Bullshit power has returned. This chapter of Fairy Tail. I kind of saw it coming. As soon as the panels showing Kyoka, kind of taking away all of Erza's senses. I'll take your eyesight and take your sense of hearing and all this stuff. I'm starting thinking that's a little overpowered, and there's no way any main character can get through that without some kind of bullshit reason. And I was right. Erza still kind of is able to fight back, according to her, because of the power of this light within her that guides her. I have no idea. And that's pretty much all the chapter. The chapter is just Kyoka beating on Erza until the very end, where Erza just stands up and kind of just uppercuts her. Boom. Showing she's badass. Like, we didn't already know that. And then end of chapter. I don't really know what else to say. I mean, it's the typical fairy tale formula. Villain's so overpowered, he's taking down the hero, but at the very end of the chapter, the hero has some bullshit reason that he's able to overcome it and get land this epic punch on the villain. And end of chapter. And when it comes to Erza, I kind of expect this because her powers don't lend to the opportunity to improve. It's just switching armor. And I think I've mentioned this before in another review of mine, where you can't really improve on her abilities. It's just armor and weaponry. I mean, you can find new ones, but you yourself will not improve. And the ability itself will not improve. It's just you have armor. You switch out the armor that you need for that moment, and that's pretty much it. So I kind of expect some things like this to happen with Erza and her fights. And that's kind of sad because she's one of the few females in any series I've watched that is actually pretty decent. But again, her abilities don't lend to making her even more fascinating. So it's kind of sad in that way. But it's also a fault on the villain. I mean, when you create a villain so overpowered that you kind of force your hero into the corner, you can't expect them to overcome it in any natural way that we can believe. We'll have to expect for some Deus Ex Machina or some bullshit reason, like hope or friendship or stuff like that, to get them out of the trouble. And in a way, writers know this, and yet they still have the need to make villains overpowered. And again, I understand why they would do this for Tartarus. Tartarus hasn't really demonstrated themselves as a good threat. So when we're trying to, really emphasize that they're powerful, we kind of go too far, and this happens. So really, it's just everything's fault. It's not really, it's Erza, of course, the power of friendship. Like, no, the villain was too overpowered at the same time. It was just so many factors leading up to, some unbelievably stupid reason that all this happened, and it's all going to conclude. I will say it does add to the tension that Kyoka is actually able to move the timer much faster now that she has an organic link to Face. But I'm wondering as to whether using his curse of hers, doesn't it, kind of strain on her? I mean, to have a connection to all 3,000 of Faces and then finally force yourself to connect to all these other, mages, like, it's got to be a strain on her body. I mean, she's already going to die, or at least she's going to force herself to die. But, it's got to be painful. You've got to run out of energy sometime, or at least out of this curse. And some of the banter that Erza and Kyoka had during this fight kind of worried me, because it made it sound like Erza was going to try to save Kyoka's life. Like, your life is worthwhile. Why are you trying to sacrifice yourself? You could have friends. It's like, oh no, don't don't do this to demons. If you do this to demons, these are demons. You can't have them be friends with each other. You can't have them, hey, we care about each other. It's like, what? No, they're demons. When you think of demons, they shouldn't have this emotional bull crap put upon them. I mean, it's fine to have some sort of camaraderie. Like, they've been through so many battles together that they kind of respect each other and are willing to get themselves out of trouble together. But don't make it sound like they're friends, like they like each other and they can't take it if one of their own just kind of dies or loses. Like, no, don't do that. Demons need to be terrifying. They have to have some sort of emotional detachment in order to be as badass as they need to be. But either way, if it's still up to debate, it's up in the air as to where this is going with Kyoka and the Tartarus demons. But again, I'm sorry, but that whole ending with Erza standing up despite having none of her senses are there, and yet she's still able to stand up, uppercut Kyoka, boom, awesome punch. This is like, I will continue fighting. The light inside of me guides me. Like, I honestly don't know what to say. There's nothing more to say. So hopefully the next chapter is a lot better. So until then, I'm Tony Dragon. Bye bye.